Imagine being a teenager plucked from obscurity to appear in a major motion picture. Not just any major motion picture, but a motion picture directed by Steven Goddamn Spielberg. Imagine that role being Maria, the second lead of West Side Story, which is a remake of a beloved film based on a beloved Broadway musical that won 10 of its 11 nominated Oscars in 1962,
Is
including
West
Best
Side
Picture
Story.
and a historic Best Supporting Actress win for Rita Moreno, which would also tee up another
You know what?
historic
Now you
Best
see
Supporting
why
Actress win
that
for
anything
Ariana
says.
DeBose. Imagine having your big break delayed due to an unforeseen pandemic. Next thing you know, you find out that your co star, fresh off of a star making turn in Baby Driver, has been credibly accused of sexual assault with minors on Snapchat. That film finally comes out and people are singing your praises. Then you get cast for Disney's live action Snow White remake and deliver the mild film criticism heard round the world, galvanizing alt right pop culture YouTube channels everywhere.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Did that come up pretty cringy? Kinda. But I felt no need to play the Dan Olsen clip after it. Do you want to know why? Rachel Zegler is a theater kid, and theater kids are cringy by nature. I was going to blacklist all Disney live action remakes after watching Pinocchio 2022, a soulless and cynical, in name only sodomization of my all time favorite Disney film. And then all of a sudden, middle aged men all over the world were suddenly and immediately fans of The Little Mermaid and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I ended up watching these two films for two reasons: a planned video where I take down the Disney live action remakes, and spite. By simply typing in Snow White to YouTube, you get a bunch of alt right chuds who already had their minds made up about this movie 4 years ago, delivering their reviews of it. This is by design. Negativity thrives on YouTube, and Google is actively bending the knee to Trump. So get your negative comments ready, because Rachel Zegler said nothing wrong and she doesn't deserve the hate she's getting. She didn't greenlight Snow White. She didn't write or direct it. What the far right is doing is essentially punishing an actress of color for daring to speak her mind. This is somebody that knows she has a target on her back, and she is actively fighting off the trolls while doing so. Guess what? Zegler isn't the first actress to be openly critical of Disney's past films. Lily James set up Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella. This is a girl that's not sitting around waiting for a prince to come and save her. She's got this unbelievable strength, and it doesn't come from fighting or from what happens, it comes from within. Meanwhile, Emma Watson set up her take on Belle. I love that in our version, Belle is not only odd and doesn't fit in, you see her reading and she's actually an activist within her own community. Yet none of these women received even half of the backlash Zegler received. Gee, I wonder why. None of these alt right assholes dared to call out Robert Downey Jr. for saying that he refuses to work on indie films, which I feel is far more egotistical than delivering an opinion on a film, and he's synonymous with Disney's cash cow and voted for Kamala Harris. Gee, I wonder why. Disney themselves acknowledged the more problematic aspects of their past works.
Whatever you have to say, you can say to both of us.
Fine. You can't marry a man you just met.
Do people assume all your problems got solved because a big, strong man showed up?
Yes, what is up with that?
She is a princess!
I made it a point to watch the original 1937 film before watching Snow White 2025. Also, for you physical media aficionados, the 4K disc is reference quality. The original 1937 film is more or less a tech demo for Walt Disney to bring feature-length animation to the masses, and Disney bet the farm on it. Needless to say, they succeeded, and it is deemed a classic of the cinema. It's also a gorgeous film that does have issues, and it was also a film that came out at the height of the Hays Code. Snow White 2025, on the other hand, is meh. Plot twist, I'm not a big fan of this movie, and it's not because of Rachel Zegler. But at the same time, this was a film that was absolutely 100% destined to fail. But guess what? The middle-aged men won. Bob Iger set this film out to fucking die to appease Trump. Iger then came out and said that their films will no longer have political undertones, as evidenced by the stale and dull Captain America Brave New World. Snow White got next to nothing for promotion. The premiere was completely scaled back, and as I'm writing this, the Oscars were a month ago and the LA wildfires were contained. The first time I saw a trailer for Snow White 2025 was during the Super Bowl. You could have cast recent Oscar winner Mikey Madison, who would have been the ideal choice for the grim fairy tale version descriptor of her, had her say all the right things, release a clip of her singing Someday My Prince Will Come in full costume, and she would still have a huge fucking target on her back, in part because, 1, she is still playing an iconic Disney princess, 2, she won an Oscar for playing a stripper, and 3, she's Jewish. So my hypothetical actually came to play in real life. Just as I was finishing this video up, it was revealed that Mikey Madison turned down the new Star Wars movie titled Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling, that's directed by Sean Levy, which to me just screams, there, here's a white guy, we're going to make a gay stew. I don't fucking blame her, because this further proves my point. Gee, I wonder why Mikey Madison turned down Star Wars. Going back to Zegler's criticism of the film, the prince only appears in the first 10 minutes and the last 4 minutes of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs with no character development whatsoever, aside from Snow White singing about him. And this is how they are introduced.
Oh,
Hello.
oh.
Did I frighten you? Wait, please. Don't run away.
Now let's play that scene with her commentary over it.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
She's fucking right. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. Rachel Zegler is biracial and identifies as a white Latina. When you're biracial, you're both races. Rachel Zegler herself was white passing enough that she was questioned as to whether or not she was really Latina. If this were a fully nude Sydney Sweeney saying what Zegler said about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs with fuck me eyes, y'all would be like, you know what? You're right. But this is a half-white, half-Colombian actress. She's not just half-white, she's half-Polish. So she's half-white. You guys did not bitch in 1996 when Demi Moore played Esmeralda, who is canonically a 16-year-old Romani in the novel The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Gee, I wonder why. Better yet, remember when Disney did a live-action remake of Cinderella that starred Brandy in the titular role, with Whitney Houston playing her fairy godmother in 1998? Drop that movie today and Brandy would have been public enemy #1 in the alt-right community. Hell, Rachel Zegler isn't even the first Latina Snow White. In 2012, a film was released in Spain entitled Blancanieves, a film directed by Pablo Berger and shot in the style of a silent film. It takes place in 1920 Seville and tells the story of Snow White from a Spanish perspective as Carmen, played by Sofia Oria as a child and Macarena Garcia as an adult, as her bullfighter father is paralyzed shortly before Carmen's birth, which causes her biological mother to die during childbirth and her grandmother to raise her until she dies and is forced to live with her wicked stepmother, a gold-digging nurse played by Maribel Verdú, who American audiences may recognize as Nora Allen from the film version of The Flash. After Carmen is presumed dead when her stepmother attempts to have her killed, a group of bullfighting dwarves take her in, and after she rescues one of them, becomes a bullfighter under the name Blancanieves. This film was Spain's official selection for Best Foreign Film, but didn't make the Oscar shortlist. One of the things I love when doing video essay research is stumbling upon a film that wasn't on my radar, and that film ends up being totally fucking awesome. If I had seen this film in 2012, this easily would have been in my top 3. It is the story of Snow White beat for beat, But this film does a way better job at telling a proactive Snow White story than the 2025 version, while maintaining some Brothers Grimm-style darkness to it. Berger shoots the absolute hell out of this movie with its gorgeous black and white cinematography and fantastic over-the-top performances, namely from Macarena Garcia and Maribel Verdú. Quite frankly, this film should have been nominated for and won all of the Oscars the artist won, including Best Picture, because fuck Harvey Weinstein. One of the things I love about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is the fact that it somewhat maintains that Brothers Grimm darkness. As for Zegler saying that she was scared of the film,
I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again. So,
Summon thee.
this is literally the first scene of the film proper after the book opens. I can see a little kid getting scared by this. This scene happens 9.5 minutes into the film. Yeah, that's one of the main issues I have with Snow White 2025. There's no scene with this level of Brothers Grimm darkness in it. I just see actors acting against green screens. Even then, Zegler acknowledges her love for the original and goes on to show off a picture of her wearing a Snow White costume.
I mean, definitely pressure. The cartoon's so beloved. It's like a monumental moment in film history.
Yeah.
It was like the first feature-length cartoon movie, to the point where it won honorary Oscars and all of these amazing things that happened. On Twitter, you had posted, I think it was the sweetest picture of you in like the Snow White costume. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so annoying. I'm sorry. I'm the same way. It's fine. We're gonna just like talk about counting your blessings and thanking whatever it is that brought me here.
Talk about counting your blessings and thanking whatever it is that brought me here.
This is not Lily White Brie Larson thinking she is down with the struggle when she appeared in a questionable film about how a white woman single-handedly saved India's rice industry, or had no qualms shilling for NFTs. Snow White is a fucking fairy tale. These characters did not exist in real life. In the Grimm's fairy tale, it isn't true love's first kiss that revives her. It is by complete accident that she is revived.
Now it happened that as they were going along, they stumbled over a bush, and with the shaking, the bit of poisoned apple flew out of her throat.
Yeah, even Walt fucking Disney changed the text of the Grimm's fairy tale version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In fact, Walt Disney himself was notorious for straying from the source material. He added a dragon to Sleeping Beauty. He famously told the writers of the Jungle Book to not read the actual book.
Well, we were at this meeting, and the first thing Walt said, I remember, how many fellas have read the original Jungle Book story by Rudyard Kipling? And nobody said anything because nobody had read it. He says, good, I don't want you to read the book.
These are
fictional characters. Fictional characters. Am I getting through to you at all?
Okay, middle-aged men. Let's test your Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs knowledge without using the internet or watching the movie. Who is this? I want a name. What prominent Warner Brothers background artist did work on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? What did the huntsman put in place of Snow White's heart? What are the ingredients of the potion that turned the queen into the old hag? Let me put it to you like this. The week before I watched Snow White, I watched the Russo brothers spend $320 million on a completely soulless and cynical film where Mr. Peanut is a central character. The Electric State is the bastardization of the source material the alt-right thinks Snow White 2025 is, because the graphic novel is decidedly minimalist in its design. But hey, let's turn a dystopian graphic novel into a maximalist 2 hours Planters Peanuts commercial by way of a C-tier MCU film instead. Planters literally has a fucking tie-in with the Electric State.
Grab some Planters nuts and watch Mr. Peanut in the Electric State.
The Little Mermaid, the last Disney live-action remake I watched, featured a fucking rap song that got worse every fucking second it went on, and you could have easily cut that out of the movie. That's one thing Democrats and Republicans can easily agree on. The Scuttlebutt is the worst Disney song ever made. There's nothing like that in Snow White. All of this to say, for the severe disdain Rachel Zegler apparently has for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, to the point that Snow White supremacists pointed out that she has back hair, which by the way is fairly normal for women, she is giving an A-plus performance with a C-grade script. Every song that involves her, she delivered 100% on. I do believe she is the fairest of them all. She knew she had a target on her back, and she had to work extremely hard to pull this off, even before the Chuds attacked her for the crime of film criticism. Also, fairest of them all can also mean kind, not skin color. Get your head out of your ass. As for Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler should switch roles. Bruh, look at her. You alpha bros mean to tell me you would slide into her DMs if you didn't know who she was? Come on, you're lying to yourself. Now, while the far right already had their minds made up about Rachel Zegler's Snow White, the far left minds were just as made up about Gal Gadot's performance as the evil queen. And controversial opinion time, Gal Gadot is not the hashtag worst performance ever. When I saw Chris Pratt cash a paycheck in a shitty wig in the Electric State the week before I watched this. Gal Gadot isn't as bad as Blue Sky leftists are making her out to be, because nowadays Twitter leftists are now just unironic Chuck Schumer supporters. Lest we forget, Blue Sky leftists were quick to cancel Rachel Zegler as well in 2022 for turning Britney Spears' tweets into a monologue, which she subsequently apologized for. Again, need I remind you, she's a theater kid. Theater kids are cringy by nature. So I'm going to give Gal Gadot equal time too. I get it. Gal Gadot is pro-Israel. She'll probably come out as a MAGA Republican by next year because this film is already bombing. It's just that Gadot gives a wildly inconsistent performance. I can tell that she is having the time of her life. There are moments when she is fine, and there are also a couple of line deliveries from her that are just plain mad that I laughed out loud in the theater. When she's the old lady giving Snow White the apple, she is really good. But apparently, the one person on planet Earth that unironically loved the Gal Gadot Imagine cover decided that she should sing in this movie, in which autotune is working double time to make her sound good. When you're the fairest. This needed a Lady Gaga. Someone who could, as the kids would say, serve cunt. Going back to Blancanieves, Maribel Verdú's wicked stepmother doesn't just serve cunt, she is one. She makes Carmen eat her beloved pet rooster Pepe. I'm dead serious. But here's the thing about Gal Gadot. She was literally saying the exact same things Rachel Zegler did and didn't get any of the flack she did.
Also, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms, is what makes it so relevant to where we are today.
So let's talk about the Variety hit piece written by Tatiana Siegel, the journalist you hire when you want someone specifically destroyed. Chances are, if you're a Zack Snyder fan, that name gets you extremely angry because she also wrote a poorly written hit piece that paints all Zack Snyder fans as toxic. On March 25th, 2025, an article titled Inside Disney Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats Beefed Up Security and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler made sure to fucking blame Rachel Zegler for everything while fawning over Gal Gadot every chance they got. This piece of yellow journalism is quick to blame Zegler for the crime of saying Free Palestine in the first paragraph, but makes no mention of bearing witness, the Israeli snuff film Gal Gadot was championing in 2023, which she herself didn't even show up for when it premiered. Siegel then goes on to reveal that Disney beefed up Gadot's security because she was pro-Israel. Not, the lead actress who had coordinated hate campaigns against her since her casting announcement 4 years ago? Then the article said that Zegler complained about not getting an invite to the Oscars. In 2022, a fan of Rachel Zegler's asked what was she wearing to the Oscars, to which she responded, "I'm not invited, so sweatpants and my boyfriend's flannel." This simple response to a fan got completely blown out of proportion by media journalists. But Disney, whose parent company ABC runs the Oscars, saw an opportunity to hype up their new Snow White, and she presented the Best Visual Effects Oscar alongside Jacob Elordi.
And I never thought that I would be here 6 days ago. I did it. Dreams really can come true pretty fast, too.
Here's the thing. Zegler sounded content with watching the Oscars from home. The article then points out that Zegler took to Instagram and made angry statements against Donald Trump after the election, which Tatiana Siegel stupidly linked a Variety article stating that Zegler apologized for her actions and took responsibility. Unlike the modern-day Republican Party, who will straight up defend an alleged sexual abuser so long as he worships at the altar of Trump. But that wasn't enough for Nazi Barbie herself, Megyn Kelly, as she demonized Rachel Zegler for the crime of exercising her First Amendment rights.
Okay, there's something wrong with this person. She's also known as the star of Snow White and the Disney movie. Remember, she was out like a couple years ago being like, there's certainly not going to be a prince rescuing me, I can tell you that. And then she attacked Twitter and Elon and finished with, "Fuck Donald Trump." Hello, Disney, you're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
I'm just going to let Jello Biafra sum up my thoughts. Okay, gloves are off. Never mind the incredibly aggressive tone she takes that sounds like she wants Rachel Zegler disappeared to El Salvador for the crime of playing Snow White. We're going to nip this woke Disney bullshit in the bud once and for all. Tim Allen has a shiny new ABC sitcom with Kat Dennings as his co-star. ABC, of course, is owned by Disney. Disney notoriously features gay characters that only appear for 3 seconds that are easily cut out for Chinese box office. Pixar cut out a trans character from the show Win or Lose, yet it also features an explicitly Christian character. Avengers Doomsday will star known conservative Kelsey Grammer reprising his role of Beast, who, mind you, has a post-credit scene in The Marvels, which is allegedly the wokest movie ever made. Letitia Wright will reprise her role as Shuri, an actress who is a known anti-vaxxer and a devout Christian. As for Gina Carano, she got fired for posting Nazi shit, comparing herself to being Jewish during the Holocaust, pushing election denial propaganda, and mocking people for wearing masks. Then karma bit her in the ass as her Daily Wire starring vehicle, Terror on the Prairie, not only tanked, making $804 at the U.S. box office, but was called woke SJW propaganda by her ilk. Yet, unlike Zegler, she didn't take any responsibility for her actions, but rather doubled down as she is crawling back to Disney by suing them to reinstate her in The Mandalorian with the help of Elon Musk. Which, let's be real, Disney is just going to re-sign her anyway because Bob Iger is a spineless coward. Hollywood is so fucking woke that Dennis Quaid was in a Best Picture nominated film last year, and this year, Mel Gibson was allowed to direct Flight Risk, starring former hate crime committer Mark Wahlberg in a shitty bald cap that even the Lionsgate 4K Steelbook release made fun of. John Boyd got to appear in Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis with actual tangible movie stars, for better or worse, but yet you didn't seem to mind woke Hollywood when Charlize Theron played you in Bombshell. Quite frankly, she should have won the Oscar for giving another sympathetic portrayal to a monstrous human being. You get no sympathy from me, as you worship at the altar of a president who said you had
blood coming out of her wherever.
Conservatives in Hollywood aren't being silenced, but women of color are. Shove it up your ass, you fucking Nazi bitch. As the article continues, it was revealed that Snow White's producer, Mark Platt, flew out to have a conversation with Zegler about her social media posts. Which brings us to Jonah Platt, the fail son actor turned podcaster, in which he said via a deleted Instagram post on Rachel Zegler, tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged, huh? Mr. Trusted Expert in Jewish culture, identity, and politics? Pot, meat, fucking kettle. Is this you having a chat with your father as a thinly veiled threat against Rachel Zegler via thumbnail? Is this you having a chat with Erin Molan, a woman who is a huge Elon Musk and Viktor Orban fan? A woman who is also BFFs with the Trumps? Also, where's this outrage for Gal Gadot intersecting her personal politics into Snow White by bringing literal state-sanctioned Israeli propaganda to America? No, you're just going to blame the woman of color for Snow White's failure, contributing to the bigoted schadenfreude surrounding this film? Fuck off. And oh, by the way, Rachel Zegler still has that post up, Mark and Jonah. You know what else is punk rock? A plot twist that came to my attention just as I was getting ready to upload this video this morning. Ben Platt, aka the other son of Mark Platt with the most unintentionally hilarious cry face ever committed to cinema, came out against both his brother and father as pro-Palestine this week by sharing a speech from Hacks star Hannah Einbinder, a Jewish actress who is pro-Palestine.
As a queer person, as a Jewish person, and as an American, I am horrified by the Israeli government's massacre of well over 65,000 Palestinians in Gaza.
Ben Platt added to this, as a queer Jew whose personal connection to Judaism is cultural, emotional, and interpersonal, and is not defined for me by the state of Israel, I have felt long alienated from this conversation and from a lot of people in my earliest community who feel differently, sometimes to a dogmatic extent. So, Mark, are you going to fly to Ben Platt's house and personally reprimand him? And I'm just going to say it. Snow White is not a film worth getting angry over. Snow White 2025 is by no means Food Fight, Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas, or Super Baby's Baby Genius is Too Bad. Hell, it wasn't even the worst film I saw that weekend. That distinction would go to The Alto Knights, a film David fucking Zaslav himself greenlit as he's looking to shit can the executives trying to bring him prestige. If you think this is the worst movie you've ever seen in your life, go watch more movies. It wants to be this neoliberal hashtag girl boss movie, but it also wants you to buy the overpriced collectible popcorn bucket or Snow White collector's cup from the theater. It's a product meant to be consumed, like all of these fucking Disney live-action remakes are. Snow White 2025 is a coffee maker. A B-flat Proctor Silex 12-cup coffee maker. Better yet, Snow White 2025 is the embarrassing neoliberal hashtag girl boss ride on Jeff Bezos' cock rocket that looked like something straight out of Vought International, which again, just as I was finishing this up, this came to my attention. Snow White 2025 didn't fail because of Rachel Zegler. It failed because the Disney live-action remakes are the new direct-to-video sequels to canonical Disney classics. Fucking Moana is getting a Disney live-action remake, and that movie is not even 10 years old yet. But we gotta placate The Rock's ego so we can see him play his character in the flesh. Nobody wants these, and nobody cares about these. Beauty and the Beast 2017, The Lion King 2018, and Aladdin 2019 are the only Disney live-action remakes to crack $1 billion because millennial nostalgia is a hell of a drug. Announce a live-action remake of a Goofy movie today, and that will easily crack $1 billion. And that's not even a canonical Disney movie. Even then, all three of those films were met with shrugs from those audiences. Fight the real enemy. Blame Bob Iger for this being a corporate rights-retaining product only made to hold on to the ancillary design rights for the Snow White characters. Just like all of these mostly shitty, unnecessary Disney live-action remakes are. Because Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs goes into the public domain in 2033. Blame Bob Iger for throwing not just Zegler, but other relative unknowns under the bus when a film fails. Look no further than when Disney got hit piece happy against Nia DaCosta after The Marvels bombed, a film that could have been successful if you moved it up to 2024. Blame Bob Iger for throwing Young Woman in the Sea, an original film distributed by Disney onto Disney Plus and not into theaters. If David Lynch's The Straight Story were released today, it would have been dumped on Disney Plus with no fanfare. Lynch's death be damned. Blame Bob Iger for still continuing to go all in on these live-action remakes. The trailer for the live-action Lilo and Stitch played in front of this, and it just looks like a shot-for-shot remake of the original film saying, there, we're going to give you the same movie you saw in 2002. Stay tuned for the Home on the Range live-action remake starring Roseanne Barr and Tim Allen. It's not like media journalists are openly reveling in bigotry or anything. Oh, fuck off, Deadline. No mention of Paul Rudd, the star of Death of a Unicorn. You went straight to the outspoken Latina actress Jenna Ortega. Thanks, Penske Media, for literally proving my fucking point! Is Snow White the worst movie ever made? No. Is it a film that needed a lot of work and shouldn't have been touched in the first place? Yes. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs isn't fucking Song of the South. The original film still exists on Disney Plus in physical media. Also, this is the last Disney live-action remake I'm watching. I'm done. These are getting blacklisted. I refuse to watch, review, or discuss any future Disney live-action remakes. I'm also adding the live-action How to Train Your Dragon to this list, even though that stream works. But if you take anything else from this video, go check out Blancanieves on Tubi, which is slowly becoming a very clutch streaming service for when I need to watch an obscure movie. That movie fucking rules so hard. Call me when you remake the Disney animated movies that are worth remaking, like The Black Cauldron, Atlantis the Lost Empire, or The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Hell, I double dog dare you to make The Hunchback of Notre Dame R-rated. You know, I wonder what's going on with the Daily Wire's Snow White movie starring Brett Cooper. Be sure to dislike, send death threats, call me an SJW cuck, and or accuse me of virtue signaling. And until then...
It's hard being women under the spotlight. People are so critical. And just say anything that they would never say to your face. No.
I'm a savage. Yeah.